it on the YouTube channel. Okay, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to our weekly market outlook classes, not cutting edge, weekly market outlook class where we will be looking out for opportunities in the markets for the week ahead, the week beginning March 21st, 2022. Okay, so let's begin by looking out for the economic report. So if you go to forexfactory.com and just look under more. So let's look at all the major news that potentially will be coming out this week and look at some of the potentially high to medium impact news. So today being Monday, we don't have a lot. We just have this one is already out. Lagarde, that's the ECB, the European Commission Bank President speaking. So I don't think that one has so much implication on so far because it's tentative more or less. Now by 5 p.m. today, there would also be the Fed chairman of Powell. The Fed chairman as Powell will be speaking, and traders will be paying attention to him because it's kind of like a big deal because he would be. So if you drop down into this detail box here, you'd see that he's going to speak about the economic outlook based on the National Association of Business Economics and annual economic policies. So basically, traders will be paying attention to just what he says, right? How he sounds, whether it's going to be bullish or hawkish. You know, if he sounds like they're going to raise rates, so what traders will be paying attention to is, okay, are we going to raise rates sooner than expected? If there is a hint that we're going to raise rates, or if there's a hint that rates will be raised more than expected, that could affect the currency. If there's a hint that it will be slowed down. So basically, this is not one of those news where there's a previous forecast and an outlook or an actual. It's one where basically traders are paying attention to the report of the event and seeing if they can deduce when next for the economy. So beside that, we have a quiet Monday. And then on Tuesday, we have a very also quiet Tuesday because we have a few reports from the Australian dollar, the euro, and the Swiss franc. And then when you come to Wednesday, that's where we start having much more, not that much, but more significant news. We have the CPI from the GBP, that's the pound. We also have the Bailey would also be speaking. And then we would also have high impact news on from Powell, the Federal Reserve Chairman, by 1 p.m. also. So so it's basically there are not a lot of high impact news from Monday to Wednesday. There are some economic reports, you know, like the Fed chairman's speech and all would be, you know, this and this as well would have some major implication, but in all, not so much. Now, when you go down to Thursday, we now start having reports from Euro, the German Flash Manufacturing Index, and then basically some medium impact unemployment claims and durable goods order from the US. Okay, so the week in itself is not very, there are not many economic high impact reports. We had lots of those last week, and it's not bad. It's not a bad thing. So we'll not have irrational spikes and volatility in the market too much. So there would always be volatility and price would always move. But what it means is price is most likely going to trail in the part of technicals rather than fundamental swings up and down. Okay, so that's been explained. We'll now jump down to obviously what we have to do. And just as a point to note, I don't trade the news, right? I don't personally trade the news. I mostly pay attention to it, right? Especially so there are certain times, let's say for some of my EAs, I might want to turn it off at certain times because of high impact news. I don't want it to mess it up, or I might want to stay away from a particular currency pair during a particular period because of the activities of the news. But basically, I don't trade it per se in terms of what happens and the actual and the forecast. Okay, so basically, I'm a technical trader, smart money, more or less. Most of you already know that. So let's jump straight into what we want to discuss today, or what market outlook. We'll start off by looking at the DXY. So the DXY is the dollar index, right? So the dollar index is it kind of measures the strength of the dollar against some of the major, all of the major baskets. So you can see I pointed this out last, I don't know when, I think last 2 weeks, something like that. Some of you guys were here, I'm sure. So I pointed out this potential channel. We had this serve as support. Price came close to here, not really touching, and then we have also support here, and we had a tap here. So at the time, I don't think price had rejected this zone here, and I was saying that we could see the dollar fall slightly because we are trading, sorry, we are trading at the level of resistance, right? So basically that is essentially what has happened, and price has since reacted like we expected. Okay, so now we've had this pushback, a pullback up, and also a rejection. Now, why this area is interesting is when you zoom out a little bit, you would see that we are coming back up to one of the last up move before a down move. And there is resistance, more or less. The easiest way to put it is that there's lots of resistance sitting above here. So there's resistance in price just above that area there. And hence, I was expecting that we could see this push away. Okay, and sorry. Okay, yeah, so now the DXY in itself, I don't trade it, right? I don't trade the DXY. I just use it to monitor the dollar basket. So if this is showing dollar weakness, then I'll be looking for dollar weakness across currency pairs. And if this is showing dollar strength, I'll be looking for this also across currency pairs. Now, as it stands, it seems like we might still get some further dollar weaknesses. Usually in patterns like this, if price bounce up from resistance or support, from resistance, usually likes to bounce, to find its way down to support, or if it bounce away from support, it likes to find its way to resistance. So when price, is moving within this structural channel here, so we have this tap here, we have a test of channel support, we have a pushback up, and then we have this. So at least I expect us to come into the halfway point of this trend, or maybe even down to this area now. So if that were to be the case, even if we were to come back to the halfway point, if we were to come back to the halfway point, maybe something like this before bouncing up, it will still mean some further dollar weakness, and we could see how that will affect the dollar basket. So if we have a weak dollar this week, and then we're going to be seeing things like euro dollar go up, pound dollar go up, dollar CAD go down, and all the rest of them. Okay. Now, so with that in mind, let's begin by looking at the USD CAD. So USD CAD is the first pair I want us to look at. So the USD CAD is quite interesting in where it is and what it has done. I have been, so this was one pair that gave, I participated a lot down here, buying, accumulating all of this, and taking all this all the way up. Now, since making this high, price has actually struggled to make new highs, right? So yes, we made a slightly higher high here, but price has struggled to make new highs. And what you'd notice is we are now moving into something like a wedge pattern. So you can see how price is moving in this kind of right angle triangle pattern. And so it's getting, obviously, if it continues to respect this area, it will continue to get tinier and tinier, the room to run. But with that in mind, we are currently sitting, as you can see how this was support back here, this was also support here. And where are we sitting now? We're sitting at that area of support. So trend line support is where we're resting. And the outcome of how price plays around here will determine where next. Now, if we are to see a weakened dollar, at least more weaker than the CAD, if the dollar is weaker than the CAD, and this happens to break through, a test of here would expose lower prices such as this, and even down to here. So for right now, what we're looking at, personally, what I'm looking out for is if we could continue to, if this area is going to hold, if this area holds, we could see a move back up. And if this area fails to hold, well, we could see a break lower and a move down. So now let's do some small analysis. So let's zoom in a little bit. We know where we're sitting in terms of where price is. But if you look at this here, we made a high, this low, and since then we failed to make a new high. We've also not made a new low. Now, this was supposed to be protected low, and as it stands, it seems price is challenging it. So price, buyers, if they want to keep price up, needs to hold price above this level. If price were to go beyond this area, then it would most likely expose lower prices. First of all, it's going to expose this low price down here. If price were to break below there, this will be the first open space for price to want to run towards, okay? But on the other hand, if this area were to hold, then we could be looking for a push back up. Now, what is most likely going to happen? Well, we don't have a guarantee as to what will happen, but we can analyze and see how price is delivering to us to kind of anticipate what price might do next. So if we drop down a little bit, go down into, let's look at the 4-hour chart here. So if we look at the 4-hour chart here, what we're looking for now is one of two things. We don't want to see some clear rejection from this area. So remember, right? So remember that this trend line is, this area here is trend line support. So this area here is trend line support. If we were to get some clear bullish structure where price were to start putting in new highs, so start making higher highs and higher lows on a much smaller time frame, that could expose high top area. So now here's one point of note. So overall, price might want to go down, right? Price may want to go down. However, in wanting to go down, price may actually want to go up first before going down, or it might just want to go down by its straight up. So what I'm looking for here is this. I want to see some sort of sign here, because the market will definitely give us trade one way or the other, because we are at a place where the price cannot stay here for long. Price needs to make a decision one way or another. So I don't have a bias. I don't want to have a bias as to where price should go. I don't want to start trading early. I want some sort of confirmation. So I either want to see price start making new highs, and then I'll look to buy. And if I were to buy, I'll be, my targets would be all the way up here. So let's go down further. Let's go down into the 1-hour charts. Okay, so now we're in the 1-hour charts. You could see that there are several price pockets, at least on the 4-hour charts. There were certain areas where price left some pockets that it probably needs to go back and fill. However, remember, you don't want to just buy because you feel price will go up. If you are buying, it should be because of a reason. Now, if price continue to hold here, there are several reasons why this might not hold. It might look like price is just engineering liquidity to run it. So what I mean is, price might just simply be creating liquidity so that retail may start jumping in to buy. And then price will just run that liquidity and clear out all their stop losses. So what I would like to see is some confirmation in the form of break of structure. So I'd like to see price take out this high. If price were to take out this high, then I'll be looking for buying opportunity somewhere around here, or maybe even here, to then look to buy it all the way up. Now, any buy position I execute on this trade would be subjective. So meaning it would be based, it's not like I'm going full bullish. It's just, I would be looking to at least take profits around this area here. So what I would like to see here is a break of structure. So this would be an area I would want to keep in mind. I'll probably set an alert here so that once price gets, if price were to break above this zone, then I'll be interested in buying. So if I were to take this high and then maybe come back into like the 61.8 fib level, I'll be looking to buy this all the way up here, right? Now that is one way price may go. The other way is if price doesn't do that and it were to break down lower. So let's say price, let me do this. So let's say price, instead of making breaking structure and making new highs, price decide to clear this low. Now, because this area, right? So this trend line that we're looking at is a major trend line. So what I mean by it being a major trend line is the fact that you know that this area has been holding, even on the weekly time frame, right? So look at this is a weekly chart. So on the weekly time frame, you can see how this trend line has held its ground. On the daily time frame, you could also see how this area has also held the ground. Price has weeks below. You can see here, the price came down below trend line, but also closed back up. So any kind of breakaway, so any kind of breakouts from on this particular level, I would want that breakout to occur on the daily chart. So that means I cannot execute a trade. I would not be looking to execute a trade on this, at least going, a sell trade, at least unless price were to close below this area. I don't know if that makes sense. So if price were to close below that area, then I could close below that on a daily time frame. So I don't want to see a 1-hour close or a 4-hour close. I don't want any, at least a daily close below this trend line is when I'll be looking to then find a reason to sell on a retest and take this lower. Okay, I hope that makes sense, and I hope the point is clear. Because if you go down, so let's look at the 4-hour charts here. You would see that to see this trend line, we had a 4-hour close below the trend line, and then we had the market go back up. So this was a false break that then proceeds to push price in the opposite direction. So I don't want a 1 hour close below or a 4 hour close, at least a daily candle close below this trend line, and then look for buy selling opportunities. On the other hand, if I were to get a 1 hour close above this area, I will be looking to buy opportunities on the retest to take this higher. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so let's push further. The next pair I'm going to talk about here is EURCAD. So EURCAD is also interesting one. So if you zoom out a little bit, you'd see what price has been doing. So price has been bearish for like the longest of time. The market has been bearish. At one point, I was expecting maybe we have accumulated markets here to go back up, but the price wasn't ready yet. And so what you notice is we're making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, right? Lower highs and lower lows. So we've just been clearly making lower lows and lower highs. Now, so with this in mind, I'm looking to see if we get into a new low, a new high, and then probably, take this out. So basically, unless price start taking out new highs, at least this is the 4 hour chart. If you look, you'll see it more clearly on the daily chart. Unless price start taking out new highs, except price takes out this high, the probability is that the highest probability is that price will want to still go down further. However, because the market moves in waves, price might want to make go up even further because there are certain areas of zone or areas of interest that price might want to go back to. So we have this, we have this. At the same time, price may have also made the new high. So this could be our low to our high to low, and then our lower high to maybe a lower low. So that was the reason why, if you look at this here, so let's zoom in a little bit. So if you look at this here, I had this, we had this wedge pattern more or less, and I was waiting for a breakout one way or the other. Now, if you notice here, we broke out here, we broke out below the trend line, the wedge supports. And so most likely than not, we are going to likely go down. We're going to likely see price head lower. That being said, I would like to look for opportunities to participate as a seller. But just as you can see, this area I highlighted here is the area I'm interested in looking for those selling opportunities. So I want to see price maybe come back up to this area, maybe look for some Y curve distribution, or look for some confirmation in form of trend line break or price action candlestick from within this area here, and then look to sell this back down. Now, if I were to sell this, obviously, let's say I get an entry from around here, my first target would be the low that rests here, and then my second target would be down here for the full TP. Okay. So how could we look to play this one out? Well, let's go up to the so let's do the 1 hour chart. So let's look at the this is the 4 hour chart. Let's look at the 1 hour chart here to see what I was expecting. So I'm looking to see if we could get price to slide its way up towards this region, and then I will be interested in looking for some selling opportunity, but with confirmation, maybe price stalls, does some kind of displacement, and then I'll look to sell this down. Okay, so this would look like a clear, like what do you call it, distribution of price to probably head lower. So I want to see price push up before looking for buying opportunities. I don't want to start selling from here. I don't want to start selling from here. I rather want to wait to see if I could get a better entry price here, because the reason is, if price were to go up here and then provide us the clue, if I were to sell, well, I could keep my stop loss tight. My first TP would be here and my second TP much lower. So my risk to reward ratio would, is one thing I'm very, very particular about. I'm very particular about risk to reward ratio, because that is what would either make you a successful trader or not, so that I don't have to worry about winning on my trades. Okay, so because if I were to start selling from here, where would I put my stop loss? Maybe above here or maybe above here, and there's no confirmation. What if price is interested in going further, and then I'll have myself sitting on a big drawdown? So I would want to see price go here and then get some confirmation to sell. If price wants to go down from here, well, so be it. But I expect we probably would see price want to come back up here. Maybe that could even be the backside of this trend line. The trend line exists extending like this and then push lower. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So the next one we're going to look at is gold. So gold, is one I've not traded in a while. So XAU USD, I've not traded this pair in like, I don't know. So I've not traded this in a while because of, well, everything that's been going on in the world. The world has been crazy. Inflation has been super high. Ukraine, Russia has dominated the news. And so market has been irrational, especially things like gold and crude oil. Now, but even with all of those, especially now that the market seems to be settling into that new state of environment, I'm now looking to see, okay, what is technicals? What is technicals saying on the chart? So now, if I were to, so let's hide this. What you notice here is, well, the market has been bullish, like clearly. So from this low here, price has made low to high, so higher low, to higher high, to higher low. So then, you know, this could be higher high, more or less, if you wish, all the way up here. But however, we have protected lows all the way down here. So with that in mind, clearly the bulls are in control, even though, you know, we've had this sell-off here. It seems like we're in a bullish market. Now, that being said, in a bullish market, I like to look for buying opportunities. And well, if this were to be our protected low, so based on the way I trade, based on looking for structure, looking for point of interest, and looking for confirmation, well, this would be the structure of the markets, the present structure I'm interested in, and the area of interest I'm interested in, is somewhere like down here. And then I'm looking for confirmation within here. Now, let me just clean all of this. The jargon is too much. Okay, so now let's explain the idea of what I'm saying. So basically, we've been trading within this range. You can see how this price is coming up from this, from this high here. It failed to break it actually. So one of two things. What I can see looking at this market is there are a couple of things I can see looking at this market. There is liquidity resting above here. There's also liquidity resting below, below here. So the market is going to want to take out one of these, right? The market is going to want to take out one of this liquidity. And looking at the structure in the market in terms of the bullish structure in the market, well, the path of least resistance is most likely here. However, unless price starts taking out new lows and then probably break this trend line, will it expose this low? But I know the market is going to probably want to run this. It's just the markets might probably want to run this liquidity first before coming down to run this one. So, which is why I am actually slightly bullish on this pair, on gold, especially going into this week. Now, if you look at the 4-hour chart here, right? So if we look at the 4-hour charts here, you see the structure I identified, and we've come down and tap into this zone. And then, so for some sort of Y-curve accumulation, this green box are highlighted here. So if you notice, we had, so you'd see, so this green box are highlighted here. Let's look at it on the 15-minute time frame, okay? So, so basically, we've had preliminary support. We've had selling climbers automatically, and then this would more or less serve as our spring, where smart money actually pushed price down to then liquidate all of the stop losses that were resting below this low. So then take price higher, breaking structure above this area. So that's what that is telling me is, well, this could potentially be our protected low. So if this were to be our protected low, then we could see price drift down into this zone. So this red area I highlighted is the zone I'm interested in. I want to see price drift down into this zone and then look for confirmation around here to then take price higher. Now, if that were to play out, if price were to drift down into this area here, so basically what I'm looking for is we broke structure here. You could see from breaking the structure, price is making lower lows to lower highs to lower lows to lower highs, to lower lows to lower highs again. So what I want to see is price continue to do this until maybe getting into this zone. And then, maybe we have some sort of struggle, Y-curve, and then we break structure and start heading high. So this is in a nutshell what I'm looking out for. I want to see price drift into this zone and then look for opportunities, confirmation to then look to buy, because I kind of feel this here, I feel this here could be our protected low. So if I were to look for this and get in on the trade, well, you know, let's say I get in an entry here, I could keep my stop loss here. And guess what? My target would be up all the way up above $2,000. So if we're to look for that entry, if price were to drift down into our zone, another way to play this, right? Another way to probably play this would be to maybe look for some sort of trend line break. You could have trend line like this and wait for a trend line break to then go higher. I'll probably watch that, but I would want to rather see price drop into the zone. It's just maybe price doesn't want to come down here. If price were to drop into the zone, I'll be more interested in buying. On the other hand, if price were to, let's say, come close to this zone, okay, that one is actually touching the zone. Sorry. So if price were to, what's happening? Okay, so I'm going to draw back my trend line. So I'll keep that in mind. And if price were to, let's say, continue to drift, but maybe fail to get here and break this trend line, then I could then be looking for opportunity to buy on the retest, right? But for now, I just want to see if we could get ourselves into this red box area here, okay? So, and if I were to get in on a trade here, well, let's say we get confirmation. Now, this is not a pending order or anything. If price comes here, I want to see confirmation, because price could come here and slice through and continue to go down, in which case I don't want to be sitting on a trade that did not confirm. Let's say price gets here and we get confirmation. So let's say price were to drift down lower and then give me some sort of confirmation that I'm interested in, and I get on a buy trade. Well, the buy trade would be something like this, where I'll be looking to go long, keep my stop loss obviously just within the structure here. And then my overall target would be, because then if you now go back up to the daily chart, so if we were to go back up to the daily chart here, you would see that if this was low to high, and this is our higher low, then we're most likely going to want to at least make a higher high. So that would be something like this. This would be something like over 1,000 pips move. Now, sure, I will not hold on to the trade, all of my positions for the whole of the move. But I will partial out some of the trades if the market were to confirm and to start trading. So on a 4-hour chart here, so if I was to get confirmation and I got on a trade to start buying, well, I'll be looking to exit some of my positions around here. I'd also be looking to exit some more positions, you know, when we get up to this area. So something I call partialing out. So I'll partial out from those areas, from that area, and I'll let the rest run up to my full TP, which is all the way up there. So if we get confirmation and I jump in on the buy, I'll be looking to see this play out like this. Okay, but remember, this is not investment advice. This analysis is so that you can then do your own analysis. It can help you, aid you in making your trading decisions, right? Okay, now finally, I'm going to look at, okay, not finally, actually, we have time. I'm going to look at EURUSD. So EURUSD, okay, so I'll go up to the daily charts. And some of you who have been here know my outlook on this. Okay, let's even jump up to the weekly chart. So based on, from this, you can see how we've been within this wedge pattern for the longest of times, right? You could see how price has been ranging from wedge support to wedge resistance. Each time we get in slimmer and slimmer. So we've been ranging within this pattern. We're not making new highs up until this point where we broke above. Now, since then, we have come back to retest, but then we are at the confluence of, we are actually at the confluence of price. So price is just within resistance, within support. It needs to make a decision one way or the other. And like I mentioned last week, I would rather be either looking for buy opportunity on the outside of this trend line, or looking for selling opportunity on the outside of this trend line. So in between, not so much, but you know, the market will really get into the zone when price were to break out one way or the other. Now, but looking at this, right? So from last week, I was looking at this and I was like, this market seems to want to break out higher. It seems to want to break out higher. And a good notice of that would be you could see how price rejected this area. You can see how price is constantly, at least for the past few days, has constantly been aggressively challenging this what is supposed to be resistance now, which if broken would most likely become support. So now if we drop down to the daily charts, right, so on the daily chart here, you can see how we are sitting, right? We are sitting at that key area. We are sitting at that key zone. Now, I quite like this, especially if we have, just like we looked at the DXY and we were saying we could have a weakened dollar this week. If we were to continue to have that weakened dollar, well, if dollar gets weaker against Euro USD, well, the price for Euro USD is most likely going to go up, right? Now, so which is why based on the way I trade, based on my style of trading, if we go down to the 4-hour chart here, you would see I started to define a story around price based on how I like to look at the market. So notice how price has made from a low to a high, price has then made a higher low, and now we've made a higher high. So what I'm expecting is for us to make a new higher low that is higher than the previous one, to then make a new high. Now, this new high is most likely going to break out from that wedge pattern, from that weekly trend line that we saw, and that would expose much higher prices like the previous FOMC pockets back in July, okay? Now, so for the week, what I'm looking out for now is this. I'm looking to see, at least this is the 4-hour chart. I'm looking to see price come down into this zone. This is the zone I'm interested in. And then I will look for confirmation here, look for some buying opportunity within this zone to then take price higher. My first target obviously would be just above here. And when price break out of the trend of that pattern that we were just talking about, I will be talking about how I'll be trading that in terms of you guys in the cutting edge trading room. So remember, cutting edge trading room is only available to clients who have funded the account, where we look at all the currency pairs, all the interesting ones, and look for opportunities therein. Okay, so I think that's just about it. Just as a bonus, we're going to wrap up with looking at cryptos, BTC precisely. But basically on Euro USD, I'm looking at this and looking for buy opportunities around here. And that's my area of interest, looking for buy opportunities to buy this up. First target to be here, and that will be, my stop loss will just be below here, not that low. My stop loss will just be below the structure once price confirms my entry, okay? Okay, now finally, let's look at BTC USD. So BTC USD, let's look at the daily charts. Okay. Okay, yeah. So BTC USD, you'd see, so you could see, let's just hide most of these things so we can have them. So basically, since price has tapped into an area we're interested in, the market has not quite moved on. I was expecting a much more aggressive move from this area. The truth is, yes, price is still making higher lows, but it's also not making higher highs. It's making lower highs as well. So price actually needs to start making a decision sooner rather than later if buyers are going to have any sort of joy. Now, we broke out of this trend line here, and we have started to form another trend line just above here as well. So I did get in on a trade, not trade per se, I did accumulated some more BTC just around here as price tapped into, tapped into an area I'm interested in, expecting this to push higher. Now, the area that buyers need to clear is this high. So buyers need to desperately clear this high around 45,000 K or $45,000, right? $45,000 is major resistance. So this is major resistance. Buyers need to clear these areas. The buyers are to manage to clear this area, it's going to open $50,000 and up all the way up to 56,000, as well as 60,000, 68,000, 70K could also be exposed. But first of all, buyers need to clear this resistance. This resistance here is key, because if buyers were to fail to clear this resistance and sellers clear this support, well, we could see BTC back at 25K, right? And because if we were to break below that structure, below this trend line here, there is a lot of room for it to fall, right? So you could see what I mean. If we were to break below this trend line, we could see ourselves falling back down to 28K and even deeper, maybe down to 25K. But on the other hand, we need to see buyers clear these highs. If they clear this high, it will expose much higher price pockets and much higher price targets. Okay. Okay, so that will be all from me for now. If you have any particular currency that you want me to look at, just quickly type that in the chat box and we would address that in a bit. If you're watching this on YouTube, obviously just leave a thumbs up. Okay, so that'll be all from me.